Do you want to start this week?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the first group of 2025. Can't believe it's 2025. We're saying this is our 10 years together.
Yeah,
So Freedom Thinking's been going a bit longer than that, but we've been doing it together now for 10 years.
10. And
Well,
this
this will be
is
our
the
10th year.
11th year of Freedom Thinking Community Group, which is nice.
So thank you for
Thanks,
being with
everyone.
us.
Thanks to everybody over the years who've supported us. We really appreciate it. And if you're watching this on catch up, thank you for supporting us.
So I've just read what you wrote. You didn't really put any title or ideas of
All right.
what to talk about.
I'll do the businessy bit first then.
Oh, I don't.
All right, everyone, welcome.
I always miss this bit.
I know. It's because I don't particularly like doing it, but it needs doing. My name's Dave Ellery. This is Jen Ellery. We're Freedom Thinking. Each week we try our best to do a via donation community group, which is a community group. Where's the community? It's all over the world. It's anybody who's interested. It's anybody who wants to join. It's anybody who can make it. You are the community. We're all the community. Come on in. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome on a Monday night at 7 p.m. UK time. You are welcome to come and join us. We do these via donation. That means if you would like to, and we very much appreciate it, if you'd like to make a donation to Freedom Thinking, it helps Jenny and I keep going. It helps us put food on the table, fix vehicles, put fuel in our cars, and all the other everyday stuff that we need to do in order to survive. It helps us feed our child, doesn't it? But it helps us put food into Jenny that then, through the miracle of life, gets converted into child food. Lately, I've been considering that I might have to fight Lucia for some of her food, not for fun reasons, but out of necessity. So if anybody wishes to make a donation, it will be very much greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. You can do that via PayPal at info@freedomthinking.co.uk. And forgive me, Dan is showing me. Whose beaver's that, Dan? Is it a beaver? It's a beaver. Is that your beaver, Julie?
Slippers. Oh no.
Slippers. Oh, Highland cow. It's a Highland cow. You wouldn't think I did ecology at college, would you? Right. So yeah, freedomthinking.co.uk, info@freedomthinking.co.uk is where you can make donations. If you're watching on catch up again, please, and you wish to make a donation, please make a donation. That would be so greatly received. Also, if you're watching on catch up, and you can't make Monday nights because I know many people work. You know, we have work, we've got kids, we've got stuff to do. If Joseph just going to, oh, well done, man. And you've got any questions that you want us to address, you've got anything that you'd like for us to address, we put these online on YouTube, which I'm guessing that's where you're watching this now anyway, if you're watching on catch up. Please just write a question in the comments section. And if I could kindly ask you to like and subscribe and to, what's the other thing? Comment.
Share.
Is that right, Cole? Cole's nodding. Must be doing all right. Yeah, and share. That would be greatly appreciated. Dan says I got that right as well. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for putting up with that. I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Just another. We're going to start. I've done one already. We're starting our podcast.
Oh yeah.
So if people have topics and things they'd like us to talk about on our podcast, yeah, drop us an email, send us a text, because we'd like them to be relevant for people. But we're gonna try. I mean, I think I'll be able to do it to make them like maximum of 10 minutes. So just little snippets about different topics. And so I've had a few ideas already of what I'd like to do. I think you're going to struggle with the 10-minute bit. Dave's might be more like 20 minutes.
15.
Try.
Go for 15.
But I think sometimes it's quite nice if there's something that's on your mind, just to have a conversation around it, or not even a conversation, like a podcast that addresses it. So I think sometimes we don't necessarily want to ask in a group, and these will just be short little clips of our reflections about whatever that topic is. So a few of the ones that I think have come to mind for me is the 3 principles in divorce, because there's been a lot of conversation around that in the community and ideas around it. Parenting with I've only had Lucia for nearly 3 years, but still loads of stuff that comes to me, and gratitude about having this understanding while parenting. But anything that comes to people, we'll address it. We'll do our best.
And also we're doing a retreat. It's a retreat in your own home. And it starts from the 1st to the 3rd of February this year. So in about a month's time, we'll be doing a 3-day online retreat. Again, this is via donation. This will be done via donation. The reason why we do via donation is because we want to make it accessible to people. You know, it is important that we receive money, but it's also seriously important that those who can't afford to receive can't afford to give can still get access. Jen and I aren't about that. We're about people getting access and keeping a level playing field for all people. That's how we like to do our work. That's like how we choose to be. So yeah, the title of it is Ocean of Freedom. So look out for that on Facebook. Look out for it on Telegram, on our Telegram channel. Look out for it on our WhatsApp channel. And if you want adding to those WhatsApp channels or Telegram channels, please get in contact with us. Just drop us an email at info@freedomthinking.co.uk and send us your number, and we'll stick you on one of the pages, whichever one you prefer. Also, Facebook, Freedom Thinking. I think I've about covered that. Right, let's go.
We almost need to speed it up like they do with the warnings on the American adverts.
Yeah, for all the things that's actually going to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2025 in May is going to mark 20 years since I came across the principles. And I think I spoke about that briefly last time, but it's been such an incredible journey of learning. And just recently a friend's sister got in contact to ask, had I got any advice? Would I maybe have a chat? And wanted to know a bit more about it. And I sent a few videos and a few links to podcasts and just a little bit of text, and we've had a few conversations. And the thing that she's come back with after different years that she's had within therapy for anxieties and things was, it seems really, really simple. And it seems like common sense. Why didn't I know about this? And I think that's another reason why we do this stuff via donation. We put it all over YouTube. I know, you know, from a business point of view, people say about, you know, locking things to your website, but I think that's the thing that struck me 20 years ago is this is so simple. Why didn't I know? Why did I live up until the age of 23 in darkness about how we work as human beings, about how life worked, about what our potential is? And I feel like I'm scratching the surface of what potential is within humanity. Well, I think we all are. So I don't know, I feel like I've got a renewed kind of commitment to getting over myself and finding ways, even though we've got Lucia and even though I'm tired, to make more content, have more conversations, and just get this out further into the world in any way that I can. Because I think, you know, with all the things that happened in the lockdown years, and there's been so much anxiety and stress, especially within young people, school refusers, the amount of people I know now who are labelled and medicated for certain disorders and mental health problems. I feel like this is the time people are ready. And I think sometimes we do have to kind of get to a crisis point before we're ready to listen and to wake up. So I'm excited about that this year for both of us to, I think we've been a bit lazy, like since the lockdown years, at really getting this out there, because we love our life and we love this understanding. We love just having random conversations in coffee shops with people. But for so long we're going to have 3 retreats a year. We love the in-person stuff. This is incredible, but we love the in-person stuff. And then like months will go by and we're like, oh, we still haven't organised it. Oh yeah, we need to do
you remember
that.
I went to that spiritual church? I might have mentioned this before. I went to this spiritual church, and it's where loads of clairvoyants go. But the main clairvoyant couldn't make it, so they just had clairvoyants from the room. And finally, this bloke stood up and he's looking. It was about a room of 60 odd people, wasn't it? And he's just looking around, last person to stand up and speak, and he just looked at you with your finger under your mouth. I was like, what? Me? He's like, yeah, you. I was like, all right. He said a few things. And then he said, is there a Jenny? Jen? I said, yeah, she's here. He went, yeah, two blokes have come forward. Have you two like really slowed down with your work? We're like, no. Yeah. And he said, yeah, they're telling you, pull your fingers out, get back to work. And we were like, bloody hell, all right. Okay. Take heed. We're taking heed in 2025.
Yeah, I think I was pregnant with Lucia when we read that.
Yeah.
That
So-
been.
Here we go. Watch out, 2025. Here we come. All right.
Has anyone got any questions before we?
Yeah. Questions, reflections, observations. You know how this works. Generally, we just like to have this so people, this is for you lot. This is for you lot and for us.
I think
Right.
I think I'll start if that's all right.
Go for it, Dan.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my friend.
So apologies if I pick chicken out my teeth, but it's really annoying me.
Right.
I've literally had the worst 2 weeks that I think I've ever had since my awakening, with endless amounts of anxiety, intrusive thoughts, it's been absolutely unbearable. I can't sleep, can't eat, do anything at the moment. And the thing that's getting me is that every time I feel some kind of like way, and I'll always say to myself, like, it's just a thought, like it's a wave. It's a wave in the ocean. And the other day when me and Alex went.
And can I stop you one sec, mate? You froze our end just then.
Oh,
and I
okay.
feel like I missed the crux of your statement.
Which bit did I go up to?
Which bit did you freeze on the frozen? When you said you were basically describing something, I think, but you froze.
Oh, no,
we missed that every time. We got to every time.
Oh, well, I won't start again, but I'll see if I can pick up. So,
Yeah.
cut long story short, I've just had the most unbearable 2 weeks with mental health and anxiety. Well, not mental health, but anxiety and intrusive thoughts and just the usual things that I would have dealt with prior to when I had my awakening. And whenever these thoughts pop into my head, I always and immediately say to myself, it's just a thought. Like, it's a wave in the ocean. But at the moment, I just can't get past it. I can't. There's something that's stopping me from being able to see that vision, not the vision, that sort of that light again, I guess. I'm in such a dark place that I'm struggling to pull myself back out. And all I've done for the past couple of weeks is like say to myself, you'll be okay. Because in the end of it, I know that I will be. But it's just so fucking hard at the moment. Like, I'm struggling so much. And like my mum's been great, like, and Alex has as well. And I've got a perfect support network. I'm very lucky, but there's just something, and I don't know where it is, that's stopping me from thinking like that there's something wrong with me, or that I don't know. It's just it's just been difficult, and I've tried so hard. It's ruined a lot of like my Christmas and my New Year. And for what? It's like I keep going back to. I know it's only thought, and I know it's only a wave in a big ocean. But I just don't understand why I'm not getting it. If that makes sense.
Does make sense. Totally, mate.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you've got quite a lot of thinking or judgment about not feeling all right. And I think for whatever reason, as human beings, we go through periods of time where we have experience that we don't enjoy and we don't like, different anxieties and things. And I think sometimes when we've kind of stepped out of that and had periods of time where like, whoa, like, and you see it for what it is, and it does look like, oh, it's just a thought, we can get quite kind of arrogant with it. And I think then when we dip into it again and we start trying to intellectually say to ourselves, it's just a thought, I know this is just a wave. It's like, well, right now it isn't just a wave or just a thought to you, it's your everything. So it's having respect for that. You know, it's the principles creating a reality for you that right now feels and looks very uncomfortable and scary. So the blame and the judgment can come out of that. Like, the nature of what the principles point to is that they create reality to look real. But I think the shift that you've noticed and you've spoken about before is that we don't give it as much attention as maybe we used to. Like, I feel like you would have maybe really thought, oh my God, there's definitely something wrong with me. I think there's a little part of you that seems like you're aware of this is thought, but right now I'm stuck in it.
You did say I will be okay.
Yeah. And I feel like if we can leave that space around it, because we haven't got to try and not feel this. There's nothing wrong with the experience you're having. It's uncomfortable, but in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. The principles are still up and running perfectly, beautifully within you to have experience. But then we have a judgment that it should be different, that maybe we should know better, that you liked it much better before, or the space you were in. But our experience goes up and down and it fluctuates. And I feel like the more open to that we are, it can come and go. And we find moments of gratitude within those periods where we have popped out of it and we're having a laugh with a friend or just enjoying something or finding the chicken annoying in your teeth. Like, there's a moment there where you're not necessarily thinking about your anxieties, it's something very ordinary. And I think it's so ordinary for us to get caught up. We live in a very, very kind of fast-paced world with so much information. I think sometimes we just need to get quiet again and listen. Like, sometimes our discomfort is trying to wake us up to something. I'd say always.
It always is, yeah.
It's always trying to wake us up to something. What am I not seeing at the moment? What am I not open to? What else? Like, if we can start to get a bit more open-minded or curious when we're in these spaces, rather than like, whoa, our focus is on the feeling, this feeling, I don't like this feeling, I don't like it, I'm uncomfortable. But if we can allow ourselves to get interested or open or curious to what else? What is this teaching me? Is there anything to learn? And you don't have to like force that and spend hours thinking about it, but it's just, I feel that's what comes more and more to us when we recognize and see. Like, over 20 years, I have seriously had some ups and downs and ins and outs and complete storms. But there's always been learning, generally throughout it. And then afterwards, when you look back, it's always humbling, because there's times when I felt like I've seen something so incredible, I can't ever imagine getting caught out by it again. But I think the lesson that I've learned over and over again is just gentleness and kindness to myself. It's all right, you're not doing life wrong. You're not doing it wrong because you're having a horrible experience. For whatever reason, these thoughts are gripping you right now. But they can come and they can go. And they can grip you for a moment and then they can fall away. So I think there was a lot of understanding within your question, within your comment. I feel is already within you that you've already seen.
Yeah. I do. I I it's so like it's strange because every thought that I have, I'm like, it's fine, everything's okay, like everything's fine, and then I think it's more of the, like you were saying there, it's like the up and the down and the up and the down, because it's so drastic at the moment. I don't know if that's why I'm maybe feeling overwhelmed by it, perhaps.
I remember the first time after my awakening, I felt bad, like really bad. I remember saying the words, "It's left me." I don't think I had enough grounding at that point to understand it can't leave me. And when I say it, what am I talking about? I'm talking about love. I'm talking about the spiritual. I'm talking about that space that we find within ourself as a possibility within ourself that sets us free. And we notice the freedom, we find the freedom. That's why we're calling the next retreat the Ocean of Freedom. And we know that freedom's available to us. You know, and so it's like a double-edged sword in one way. You know, you're grateful that you're not that same person who you were in the past, who kind of didn't have the understanding and who thought that they were fundamentally flawed or broken and psychologically ill or mentally ill, whatever the hell you want to call it, and go in search of labels and go start looking to experts to try and fix you in the medical model. But then there's the other side of the sword now. Once you've had an awakening, you've had a taste of what it's like to feel the most beautiful life. And so anything less than that starts to really become quite highlighted. It's like, it seems to have an enormous light shining on it. It's like, this is shit. This is really shit. And guess what? I got quite arrogant and thought this would never happen to me again. No, it happens. It happens to the best of us, I'm sure. I'm sure. But I do know, Dan, that you have had enough. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about anyone. But I know that you've got enough about you to know that all states of being are temporary. You've had enough life experience to show you, even without awareness, that all states of being are temporary. That, as you said in your own words, I will be okay. I just wanted to read something. I don't know if this is remotely relevant. It was just something I was looking for. I don't even know if it's the right thing, to be honest. It was something that I wrote. When did I write this? 24th of the 1st. It was about a year ago now. It's just on my notes. I was looking for something. I jogged when Jen was speaking. It jogged a memory for me of something I may have written, but I don't even know if this is the right thing. I haven't really had a chance to look at it. But I just want to read it anyway. I think it was hedge trimming when this came. All of the infinite realities exist within each and every one of us. We use our gift of free will to focus our attention, and in doing so, creating the experience we are giving life to and living as our lives going on or flavors. All possible realities lay within. We are never limited. Even the possibility of this not appearing as true exists within the infinite possibilities. If we focus on that reality being real, then we will present no other possibilities to experience other than that. And I wrote at the end, choose wisely. I don't know how relevant that actually is to this. It is relevant. But speaking directly to your thing, I'm not sure that was quite the one I was looking for. But it is true. unlimited possibilities of reality lay within each and every single one. And that includes experiences that we don't like the ocean, like the waves, as you described. All realities are coming from the ocean of consciousness that we are. Every single one is a wave. Something came to me as I was writing the little flyer that we've made for the retreat coming up. It was the word information. When we share information, what is information? People probably said this years ago, I just saw it today. Information. The formation within, knowledge within. So from within our information, we create the formation of all these realities. Every single possibility lies within the heart of every single person. Infinite possibilities lie. So I'll go back to that point again. That includes the experiences that we call or label suffering. But speaking to that point, it's quite more often than not, it's the meaning we give to feelings that create a deeper suffering. So, for example, what is a feeling without the label or the identity that we give it? If you were to remove the story, the name, the label of anxiety, what would you actually be left with? If you were to remove the story, the label, the name from the experience of anxiety, what would you actually be left with? You'd be left with an experience.
I remember someone saying that on a course once of what does it feel like? What does this anxiety feel like? And they described it. And then they said, but if you didn't label that anxiety and you just heard the list of those things, someone might say that's the experience of falling in love. Because you get your heart rate goes up, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you're kind of buzzing. But we say that's a good thing
Your mind's
you're falling
active.
Yeah, you're falling in love, and we label that as a good experience. But actually the feeling state is very similar. And I remember just thinking, wow, I'd never thought of it like that. I'd always said this feeling, this is anxiety because I get anxiety because I'm an anxious person. Was actually without the label, without the idea that it's bad, it is just another experience. And it really highlighted it to me when we did that. I don't think I explained it very well, but it really highlighted that to me during that course of, wow, I just have created an idea of what this is and what anxiety is and what it looks like and what it means, and that it means something. It means something about me, or it means something about the world, or it means something other than a creation.
Yeah, other than an experience. And I think also, it highlights the difference between insight, where when you had your realization, Dan, that didn't come from you going, "Ooh, I should think about this in a certain way." It came from a moment it was a flash of inspiration. It was one of those kind of like eyes wide open moments where you went, oh, a brand new experience, a whole new experience. And that didn't come from your intellect. That came from a space before the intellect. But what would people tend to do is they try and use the principles. Now you can't escape the principles. So I often hear this people saying, I know it's just a thought, but oh no, that's the intellect talking. That's the intellect talking. That's the ego talking, and the ego has absolutely zero power. The ego can never change the experience, because the ego actually has zero power. It's already formed. It's already been created. The thing that ultimately has the power is the space before the ego, which is who and what we truly are. The ego is a false identity. It's a story. It's a creation of who we think we are and what we think is powerful, which is what we call our intellectual mind. And we think the intellect, the thinking, the thoughts, the thinkings, we consider that to be mind, but no, mind is the ultimate freedom. Mind is the ultimate creative force. It is the space from which insight is born. It's the space from where all information lays. All information, even the stuff mankind hasn't even dreamt up yet. It's already there. It's present. It's right here. It's right now. But to try and use the idea, I mean, we all do it. You know, when I get lost in some kind of head fuck, I'm like, I know this is thought, but I don't know it's thought at that point. I don't. I clearly don't. Sometimes, you know, I think it's very easy for us to think that we've got one up on life when we have this kind of awareness. I know I haven't. I've been humbled time and time again throughout my experience as a human being since being awoken. Like, I've been humbled so many times. I've really hurt. I felt grief. I've had experiences that I cannot explain. Like, I've found interests that I've got no idea why I've become so interested in certain things. You know, I've had the darkest depressions. But there's been this aspect, and I'm curious about this for you, Dan. There's been this aspect of me that's been aware that wasn't present before my awakening. That even in my darkest times, there's this other part of me that's kind of like just sitting back and going, all right.
100%. I get that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So there's this part of us that knows we're all right. The little ego's running around trying to fix everything. But then there's this deeper part of ourselves that just knows, this is fine. It's all under control. It's all under control. It's fine. We're all right. This isn't going to kill me. This isn't going to destroy me. Whereas in the past, I would have thought it was going to destroy me. Or if it didn't destroy me, I'd just destroy myself. You see, and I don't know if Sam's got anything she'd like to share. But this is kind of like this is totally normal. If I'm perfectly honest, it's totally normal. When the hell did we ever come to the conclusion that feeling shitty thoughts wasn't acceptable? Feeling shitty feelings, sorry, wasn't acceptable. Who on earth ever said that was a law, that was a rule? I don't know. If we truly are infinite beings, which I cannot comprehend any possible way out of us not being infinite beings, it's impossible. We are infinite beings. We will never get to the end of our capacity to create experience. This is an entirely unique experience right here, right now, but we don't pay attention to that. We don't notice that. Every single moment, I know that Myra has never sat in this very, very moment with that rather fluffy looking jacket sat over her chomping on something in sunny, cold America.
That's the steering.
Is that a steering wheel? No, it's a jacket.
No, it's a steering wheel.
Is it?
My boyfriend, it's got ears on it too. I'm parked, so I can't move it. It's got little fluffy ears on it. He got it for me
Nice.
as a present, and I love it.
Nice. I like that. I want one of them.
They're great.
Entirely unique experience. Eternally. It's like Jesus said in the Book of Thomas when he said, understand you are seeing each moment for the very first and the very last time in the eternal now. So all these experiences lay within us. The infinite experiences lay within us. You know, there really isn't anything to fix. Because there really isn't anything broken. Not broken. But I do know from my own experience, the more attention and story I give it, the greater it looks, the more of an obstacle it appears, the greater the wall, the bigger the hurdle, the higher the mountain. But when I allow myself to forget it, when I allow myself to, 1 second, when I allow myself to, oh bless, thanks Sam, I realised you didn't have a mic, did you? When I allow myself the grace to, I don't know, do you know what I did last time? I felt really shit. Tell you what I did. I went and found a stone circle and I went and sat in it. That's what I did. I went and sat in a stone
You
circle
think to it as well.
and I sang. I just sang. Because that's what I
innocent dog walk
I
on.
did, yeah. I look mental. Not saying everybody needs to do this. And some people go, oh, that's outside in. There's nothing, there is no such thing as outside in. Outside in doesn't exist. No, everything's inside out. But I went and sat in a circle and stone circle. I dowsed it. I found the ley line on it and I found the most powerful position in it using my rods. And I stood in the middle and I sang. And I sung loving thoughts. I sung to myself loving thoughts. I sung loving thoughts for half an hour or so. I didn't hear the people. I mean, this stone circle is on the side of a mountain in the Lake District where nobody bloody goes. And all of a sudden there is, hey, come here, Meg. And bloody Meg's having a wander up towards me. Meg's a dog. And there's two people like within 10 meters of me and I was singing at the top of my bloody voice. I must have looked insane. I said, did you know there's a stone circle here? And then I walked down to River. I just went and spoke to the river. I'm like, River, help me out here. Spoke to the river. I spoke to that river for an hour, didn't move. I ended up in a weird like trance and didn't move. And then at some point I got up and walked back up to my stone circle and stood in the stone circle again. Then I went home. And you know what? The next day we went to St. Peter's Church in Heysham, the most beautiful church I know in Lancashire, and I doused the church, found the ley line in the church and listened to a fella playing his little organ. And I listened to myself. I listened to what I felt I needed in that moment. And what I needed was I needed quiet. And I thought, I know where's quiet. I know where's beautiful, somewhere I really love. And I went there. You know, I didn't just sit around going, oh, it's just a thought, therefore I shouldn't be feeling like this. I was like, no, I don't feel very good. And do you know what? Right now, I would like to go and sit in a stone circle and sing. So I went, sat in a stone circle and sang. You know, some people go for a walk. I was going to go for a walk. Perhaps I'll just go for a walk. Some people are going to go and get in the water. I'm going to go open water swimming. I'm just going to go and do that. Some people, I don't know, I'm going to have a conversation with somebody. I'm going to put on a talk, something really uplifting, and put on some nice music. I don't
We
know.
used to watch Fail Army.
Yeah, we used to watch Fail Army. And like, I don't know, something that brings us joy. You know, we're not the people who say, oh, you know, you should just see it's a thought and blah, blah, blah. No, when I'm stuck in my shit, I don't see it's a thought. When I come out of it, I can clearly see it. But when I'm in it, I can't. Don't know about anybody else. There's moments of where I can see it. There's moments I know, but it hasn't left. But at the end of the day, it's all right. It doesn't kill us. It doesn't destroy us. No feeling has ever destroyed anyone. Ever. Ever. We're all right. No experience is permanent. Look back. Look, check it out. Check it out. Check in with your own life. Look back to the darkest times. That time when you never thought you'd make it through it alive, and you got to the other side, and perhaps you haven't even noticed you've made it to the other side yet. And you go, oh shit, yeah, I forgot all about that. That was a really hard time, that. I forgot all about it. It's not hard anymore. But the beautiful thing I find with from my own personal experiences, when I've gone through the challenge, I've transmuted it. You know, so all the things that kind of that have held me captive throughout my life from time to time throughout my life. Like I often say this one, climate change was a big one for me. Global dimming became another big one. Nuclear war, like Jen, when we were kids, spontaneous human combustion was a thing that kind of really troubled me. When I got to the other side of being tormented by it, for want of a better word, I'm no longer afraid of that. I can look at those things. In fact, most of that stuff I've got totally different points of view on now to the ones I actually held. You know, my mind has done a 180 on so many of those things. But I can look back at those things and I can study that phenomena. I can study that that scenario, and it doesn't hurt. You know, every time we go through one of these pain periods, we transmute it. We get to the other side and it doesn't hurt us anymore. Don't be afraid of not hurting anymore. Because that's really what, if you look back, that's what you're left with. These quite often are some of our greatest gifts. When we go through it and we get to the other side, it doesn't hurt us anymore. But that was an aspect within ourselves that we carried around. That was an aspect that we believed to be real and true. So I don't know what ideas or beliefs, Dan, that you're currently holding about whatever it is that you've got going on for you. But be open to the notion that you might not be right. I'm always open now when I'm suffering that I might not be right. It really fucking looks real. I might not be right. Given my experience of life, I might not be right.
It's that thing that came to your mind, the further into suffering I go, the further into unreality I enter.
Yeah, that's true. You know, that was something that came to me. Sat in the toilet. Where I do my best thinking. It was just after a big argument the next day, shell shocked by it, and just said, you know, the further into suffering you go, the further into unreality you have entered. That's when we've created such an illusion that we can't see the light. We can't feel love. We haven't got peace. Peace is our natural state of being. When I say natural, I mean it's our state of being without interruption or hindrance, being that created by the mind.
I think there's something you said earlier about the awareness, and Dan said, yeah, definitely there's awareness there that wasn't there before. And I think I can't remember if it was Sid who said it or Dr. Roger Mills, but that you take your understanding with you wherever you go in consciousness. Once you have a sense or an understanding of this, you take it with you. So really kind of when you're in, for want of a better word, we're in like higher states of consciousness, higher awareness, we don't really think about it. We're just kind of living it. And then in lower states, in more difficult times, we've got the knowledge with us. So it might not be doing anything in the moment, but it does do something for us. Whereas before we fully bought into it and fully believed it, there's a part of us that knows this is a creation, this is a dream, this isn't as real as I'm making it. But the other thing that came when you were speaking was the part that seems to have changed for you is that when you go into those spaces, you really start deeply listening beyond your ideas, beyond whatever the trouble is. You listen very deeply to yourself and what you need. And even when it's not, like that day that Dave went off to do that, we'd invited loads of people to the house.
It wasn't convenient.
It wasn't a convenient time to do it. And I think for me, I'd have think, right, no, suck it up, pretend you're all right. And that's something I'm starting to learn a little bit more about, is that actually it is okay to go into those spaces and I don't have to kind of pretend to be something that I'm not, because you just allow it and feel it. And I feel like you go in and out of it far quicker than I do, because there isn't a resistance to it and there's a really deep listening of what you need. Whereas I feel like in the similar situation, I would have been like, well, we've got people coming out. I can't do this today. I just have to get through this bit. And who knows? Sometimes when you do that, that does help because your mind's taken off it. But it's this idea that we're supposed to somehow have this understanding and then not have these experiences, or be in the experience and know that it's thought. We're kind of then missing the point of life.
Mm.
When we're in it, we're in it. But the knowledge of what life, even if we've got a glimpse of what life really is, the content and the flavour of it doesn't have the same hold. Like, I think I mentioned it back in October, September time. Somebody's fallen out with, I hate it when people fall out with me, especially when I don't know why. This person's just ignoring me. They've still just cut me out. And it took me, that first week was really hard. I just kept feeling anxious. I kept having this feeling of there's something really wrong. There's something really wrong. And then I'd be like, oh yeah, you've got a lot of thinking about that person cutting you out, but it feels really real. And I feel like I couldn't sleep and my mind was on overdrive. And I think when we have those kind of feelings, our thinking just speeds up. We get more and more thinking about it. But the knowledge that I took with me there is I kept realizing, okay, that's what's happening. And then I get on with my day, and then I get present with Lucia, and then suddenly I'll be back in it, especially in the middle of the night. You know, when I'm laid awake from 12 until 6 in the morning with Lucia messing around, that's the thing that's loud in my mind. But throughout my time of being around this, I've seen again and again and again, this is just what happens as human beings. And it's all right. We're okay. There's no feeling that can break us. And there is no thing that I have to fear. There's no thing that you have to fear. There's no thing that your mind creates that you have to think, no, this is true, I need to fear it. Because ultimately in life, there isn't anything to fear. And I think when we're getting really, really anxious, we're creating something that we're afraid of. We're creating us and them. We're creating duality. But if we can really start to recognize there's nothing we have to fear in thought. And the whole of our experience of life is thought. There's nothing to fear.
So fear is. It's all it is, isn't it? It's like,
But given, you know, people can hear us sometimes speak, and then we'll talk about experiences we've had where we've dipped. They think, oh, but it must be different for you.
Mm.
Yes, my experience of low feeling, anxiety, depression is different from before I came across the principles, but it's still awful, horrible.
I love it when people say, but I feel really deeply. What? Nobody else on earth does. How many times have we heard that? But I feel really deeply. We all feel really deeply. We're human beings. But we all feel really deeply about different things. You know, I remember one man thinking basically his missus was apathetic about something. And I'm like, yeah, but do you feel really deeply about what she's really interested in? And he's like, no. I'm like, that's the only thing that's going on between you two right here. You just care deeply about different things. Allow each other the grace to do that. But no, it's true. It's like I remember I had this proper insight about the future, and I've mentioned this to Julie and stuff, and I mentioned this before in this group, but like when I discovered,
Check them on.
yeah, check that. I think it's just because it's cold, love. You know, anxiety, worry is a future-based thought. You can't worry about anything other than the future because it's always a future thing, is worry. What if? What if that happens? What if this happens? Oh God, what if? Anxiety, you know, it's predominantly future-based thought. It may be something that happened in the past, but look at what you're actually anxious about. Is it not the repercussions to come in the future, possibly? Is that not what the anxiety is? I don't know. But the thing is about the future is it doesn't exist. We are seeing each moment for the very first and the very last time in the eternal now. So if the future doesn't exist, it cannot be worried about because it doesn't exist to worry about. I remember the day that was highlighted for me within myself. I was like, I realized that point, and I'm like, all right, well, what am I actually worried about? And what I discovered was a thought. I discovered that I had created an image within my own mind about what the future was going to look like. That was a seriously scary thought. That thought scared the crap out of me. But that was the source of my anxiety. That thought was the origin of my worry. That thought was the thing that I was afraid of. I was afraid of a thought that I had dreamt up. That's what it was. You know, when you start to see, and when I say you start, because it's an eternal thing, it's an infinite thing. When you start to see that reality is created from thought, reality itself is created from thought. That was when I woke up and I saw reality was thought. I saw my whole life was a thought creation. It wasn't anything kind of abnormal. It wasn't anything dead spiritual. The spiritual aspect of it was the realization that thought is spiritual, that I am spiritual, whatever I am. You know, and that's not about, I don't know, wearing white or, you know, chanting and doing affirmations. If you want to do that stuff, fine. You know, it's not about becoming anything. It's who and what I already was. It's who and what everybody already is. You know, I found the true self before the creation of the ego. It revealed itself. It became apparent. I don't know how to explain it, but I saw before the creation of life, I suppose. But that is life. The creation of this life. The creation of this formed life. Before the formation of a concept. Because the only thing we suffer is concepts. We suffer concepts, ideas. That's the only thing we're ever suffering, is concepts and ideas. And the deeper somebody can see before the concept and the idea, the more peace they will find. The more love will become a prominent feature in their being. I remember doing a retreat with Sam, who's on the call now. I remember Sam, Jen and I did a retreat in her house, and a beautiful lady was there, and she said to us three, she said, I can't believe you'd spend so much time with a stranger. And I remember just saying to her there and then, I haven't met a stranger in 5 years, 7 years, whatever it was. I can't remember now, 7 years probably. I haven't met a stranger in 7 years. And I realized what I was saying was real. I knew it was true. And when I look back at that, I'm like, why did that make so much sense to me? It's because I found myself. I found myself before the creation of the story of Dave. And in doing so, I found everybody else. I found everything else. It's all me. It's all the same thing. So therefore, I already know everybody. On some level, I already know everybody. But the thing that I don't know is the story that they're dreaming up or presenting as themselves, the fake self, the false self, the false identity, the ego, the story that they want to portray themselves as, or don't want to portray themselves as. I don't know. That's the bit I don't know, and that's the bit we get to know, and makes life fun as being a human being, and spending time with one another and playing in this mad dance of creation that we play in this temporary form before we go home. Why home? Where were you before you were born? Where were we before we were born? What was this energy before? Given, if science is accurate, you cannot create or destroy energy. We must have previously existed. Well, we go back to where we came from. Like a wave coming out of an ocean, appearing as some kind of separate identity, it then goes back to where it came from, and without any apparent trace. There is nothing to be afraid of in this life. Not even anxiety. Not even worry. Not even fear. Was it Roosevelt that said there is nothing to fear in this life apart from fear itself? Why do you need to fear fear? There is nothing to fear in this life, full stop. Not on a spiritual level, not on a soul level, which is who and what we actually truly are. What is the soul? What's the soul I'm talking about? I'm talking about some esoterical kind of mad thing, this spiritual kind of thing. No, I'm talking about the energy of consciousness that exists, that is the source and creation of all experience. That's who and what we actually are. All things come to pass. All things come to pass. They just do. And they pass quicker without effort. It's our efforting. Like Jenny mentioned, our friend who said it seems so simple, but it's kind of obvious. So I've been studying my troubles, my past for years. She said, and all of a sudden she said, I've come to realize that's not the way to find peace. She said, but it's too simple. But it is too simple. It's not too simple. It's just simple. Sam, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here, love. I don't even know if you feel like speaking. There's no problem if you don't. I know Sam had a horrific accident. But I don't know if there's anything you want to share, love.
What can I share? I guess I've been around and been a teacher of the principals for quite a while. And I feel like that it was so unexpected for something so bad to happen to me. Sorry, I'm also trying to work out how to do my video.
Good luck. That's proper multitasking, is that, Sam? Cool in here.
What I've noticed is how dark it really got. I didn't expect to go to such a dark place either. And I did know, I mean, during intense pain, obviously I didn't know, but there was moments where I felt like I knew that there were the principles. They were still creating this, even though it was a bad experience in my judgment of what experience should look like. But I wasn't really seeing it. I was surprised how little I saw it, to be honest. There were times like I added more judgment to it, like, shouldn't I be seeing this more? But then it's been about 7 weeks now since the accident, and I'm recovering. And it's like it's unfolding again. I suppose over the last couple of weeks, I've begun to kind of get glimpses of it again, and to kind of see that, oh, it is still there. Because I actually, at one point, I thought, I've just completely lost it. I've got no access to this thing that I've been teaching and I've been doing for all these years. And and that was also in its own way quite frightening, as well as what I'd been through. But it is re-emerging, and it is different. And and it hasn't quite emerged fully for me to kind of take everything I need to take from it. But there's these little moments of seeing, and there was there's been some being caught up in thinking, like when the memory of what happened hits again, and it's like almost like I want to jump and do something about it. And it's this real seeing even more deeply that there really is nothing to fix in my thoughts. And it was so noticeable to me how much, even though I thought I saw it, that I'd still, on many occasions, even before the accident, would still do something to not feel a feeling or not think a thought. And what happened was all of that had been stripped away from me, because I can't go to the gym, I can't lift weights, I can't go and walk along the seafront, I can't do any of the things that I might think, well, I feel a bit caught up, I'll go and do something. So it was kind of invisible to me that there was still a doing in the appearance of me trying to change feeling. And I'd put that down to wisdom is going for what wisdom is going here. And it was like when you're stripped back to all of that and you can't move. And it's like, you've got to really fucking sit with it. And it's this seeing more deeply that I still have this habit, I guess it is, of wanting to fix. And it was so invisible. And it's kind of being made visible. And other things that look like they mattered to me don't seem to matter. It was, and not in a bad way, in a good way. It's like the things that I've stressed about at times, or did get caught up about at times, weren't the thing that happened. It was something completely unexpected. And so there's all these kind of areas where I'm going, okay, that's different. Again, it feels like it's a hazy picture at the moment, and it's not quite taken form for me to clearly see what I need to see or what I'm meant to see, but I'm starting, the picture is now forming. And that's interesting, because I didn't know a picture would form. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't know when, I didn't know how, I didn't know what it would be. And I've got some notes. I've got a book of notes, probably from last year. So last year's notes of principal stuff, listening to webinars, talking myself, whatever it may be, working with clients and having these insights and these notes. And so I pulled them out before the talk tonight, and I'm reading them, and I'm like, they just don't even feel relevant anymore. And they were only last year. It feels like there was an old version of me that had written all of these things, and we're seeing these things, and we're trying to work out these things, and maybe trying to see something more deeply. And it's like, oh, yeah, none of that really matters. And you know, I guess it's not in a religious sense, but in a sense, it's just this kind of more communion with the deeper sense of whatever I feel God is, and trying to work that out too. So there's lots there, but I still stay and kind of okay to say it was really shocking to me how much it left me. And I know you guys have, I've been chatting with you, Dave, and I know that it didn't really, it was there, but how I just felt so cut off from this thing that I thought would always be there to protect me in those times. Now, saying that, the flip side is that I went through all of this and I saw protection in the world of form. So with nurses, with people taking care of me, with people that would gift me things or take care of something for me that I didn't expect them to take care of. It was like all areas of just these angels showing up and taking care of me. So I guess in some ways, and I'm only seeing this right in this moment, that was a way that, because it's all the principles, that was a way I guess it was showing up for me. It was showing up for me in the form that I needed it to show up with in the moment. And I can see that. But there was an arrogance that I would be protected from some of these things in life because of what I saw and because of what I know. So yeah, that's been humbling, interesting, shocking. Yeah, and you know, Dave, you've kind of, I've spoken to you, and it's definitely been an experience. And you said something interesting to me the other day, which is because I said I can't wait for it to be a story, because when I know I've had traumas in the past and they end up being just stories. Like when you tell them, they don't feel like they happened to you. And when I have to speak about this or what actually happened, it's like kind of feel it. When you went, well, yeah, but it's straight after it happened, it was a story, and it's like, yeah, it is. It is, but it's just still got a lot of feeling. That wave of feelings is still attached to it, and I'm looking. I'll look. It's nice when the wave of feeling goes, but again, that's where the principles are really helping now, and I guess they were helping, is because because it's when I get into bed and suddenly the memory comes back, and it would just be a tiny little bit, or just like seconds, but it feels quite overwhelming. And I guess because of what we see, I do know, okay, I know what this is. I know this isn't happening now. I know this is thought feeling. I know this is the principles. I know this is just like, it's like you had the tsunami and now you've got, or the earthquake, and now you've got the aftershocks, and they've just got to work their way through. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what else I'm going to see. I don't know. I try not to give meaning to why it happened, because it's just, that's the ego and my mind wanting to grab meaning into things. It happened. I'm learning things. I'm moving on, and it's been really humbling and really painful at the same time.
Thanks, Sam. Love. You know, I don't ever remember any wise person ever saying we will find peace with arrogance. I don't remember any wise person saying that we'd enter the kingdom of heaven through arrogance. But I know, and I've heard many a time, the word humility used when coming to find the kingdom of heaven or whatever it be. Humble and humility are words that are often used, and I don't know, these experiences like Sam's describing are opportunities for humility to be born. Sam described it, she said it, it's been very humbling. I've been humbled so many times. My arrogance has been shown to my face as I've been humbled so many times on this mad journey since awakening to life. And one thing that I remember saying to a dear friend who really struggles with the fact that he'd had an affair years ago, years and years and years ago. I don't think he ever really let himself off the hook. And I said, yeah, but what's the silver lining in it though? What's the silver lining that you got from it? And he said, I suppose I could see the innocence in other people who did it. I said, could you not see that before? He said, no. He said, and it's allowed me to be more compassionate to people. And I said, well, this is just what occurred to me there. And then it's like, well, I think that's the whole point of life. So it seems to me like you've learned some really valuable lessons through that. Because in my looking at life, I look at everything that is innate as being valuable. If it's innate, it's valuable. If it's innate, it's intentionally created. So example, it's innate for my heart to beat. It's innate. It's innate and it's purposeful. It's purposeful is my heart beating, and it's innate that my lungs inflate and deflate. It's purposeful. It's innate that I learn. I'm watching Lucia learn innately. It's purposeful. It's not some random fluke or some pointless act. It's purposeful. It's with value, is learning. And being a spiritual being coming onto this planet and innately learning, it has to be for a purpose. It has to be for reason. It has to be. And in my mind, the thing we're not here to learn isn't hatred and horribleness, the illusion, the thing that is so far from, or I say so far, I mean like so opposed to our natural state of being, which is one of love. I think we are here to learn how to love. For those of us who've started to get eyes to see that, we are starting to wake up and realize, can I still love? Can I still find love even in this circumstance? Can I still find love even for that person who's really fucked me over? Can I? Because those people who look to find that love for the people who fucked them over for that horrible circumstance, they will start to find that they move through life with more ease and peace. It's not like some spiritual claptrap. It's purposeful. It's with reason, rational reason, and that rational reason being, we will live a more beautiful, harmonious life. But sometimes we have to go into the dark. And in my experience of life, the things that I am most grateful for in my life, besides my beautiful marriage, my beautiful children, my beautiful child, my family, the things in my experience that I am the most grateful for are my hardest times. Not during the time of going through them, certainly not. Do anything to escape it. But on the other side, the things that I am the most grateful for, the things that brought me the most growth, that brought me the most humility, that brought me the most compassion, that brought me the most awareness, that brought me the most growth, have been the dark times, the hardest times when I really, when the shit hit the fan and I was up against it, and I, one way or another, made it through it. Those are the things that I really, really treasure and value, and I wouldn't erase from my history, not 1 ounce of it. It's all learning. It's all experience. Another thing that, after an argument with my family, another thing I was told at 4 o'clock in the morning was, the soul does not measure. The soul does not measure. The soul doesn't judge anything. The only thing that measures is the intellect. The only thing that wants to figure it all out is the ego. The soul doesn't measure a thing. It experiences all without a judgment. It loves all experience. It is pure love. And pure love doesn't judge a thing. It doesn't measure anything. You know, and it seems like every time we have one of those humbling experiences, we drop a measurement. Oh, how well are they doing? Let's measure. Let's check them out. How well are they doing? How well am I doing? How well am I doing on my spiritual journey? How well am I doing with the principles? How well? Oh, they're not doing the principles very well in comparison to that measurement. No, the soul doesn't do any of that. And it seems like every time we go through one of these humbling experiences of suffering, we seem to, on the other side, discover a deeper aspect of our soul. Or should I say, we start to discover the deeper aspect of the soul. It becomes more of a prominent feature within our lives, and it's all it is living life with more humility and less judgment. That's my experience. I think that's basically what Sam, would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. yeah, it's again, it's like a hazy picture for now. It hasn't got clarity, but there's definitely, I've noticed already judgment I had that's fallen away. Things that, you know, I wasn't particularly materialistic, I wouldn't say, but I had the insight of, well, there would be no amount of money in the world that would have made any difference to this experience. I'd have to go through it. I'd have to have this operation. I'd have to be in hospital. I'd have to come home. It was going to take as long as it's going to take. And that was another side to it. It was just seeing that how the experience was what it was. And there was absolutely nothing I could do about how long it would take to get better, and having to cultivate a deeper sense of patience within my experience, and to let go of, you know, any ideas of control that I thought I may have. Yeah, it's just, there's so much to it. There's so much. But yeah, going back to, was it Dan that spoke?
Yes. Sam, you've muted yourself, love.
Oh, sorry. I get where, I totally get where he is, from the sense of where it just looks like it's gone. And you tell yourself you can go, oh, it's thought, but you're not really feeling that. You're kind of, you're just kind of saying, yeah, oh yes, it's thought. I know it's thought, but it's not, you're not feeling it in the way that you feel it when you feel good. And I think it's even dropping all of that. It's just dropping it. It's just its experience. It's just experience, and it does change, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's just being in it until we're not in it anymore. Yeah, it strips it, doesn't it? It just keeps stripping away, and that's the life bit, isn't it? It's the external experience that seems to strip us away, but that takes us back to the source and the true nature of who we are. But these layers of who we think we are can feel so, they're invisible a lot of the time, but they feel fixed, and then we go through something and it's stripped away and it's stripped away, and we didn't even know there was anything left to strip, or what it was left to strip. But we get to see it, and we're kind of, then we stand in it, and it kind of, it can feel quite exposing at first, because there's something about who we thought we were that isn't true. But then you get to see that that's actually a good thing. But that's usually what we're stuck with, is that we feel like we've seen something, and then we get caught, and then we judge the fact that we're caught again, and it's like there's something in that we need to see to move forward.
Thanks, love.
You're welcome. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Just hearing you speak, I know that when you first got home, you're like, I'm going to listen, but I don't want my video, I'm not going to speak, I'm just can't. And it's like, you can feel, and then we just had a few messages, and like, I think we sent each other a few voice texts, you can just feel you're somewhere so different now, where you were then. And I don't know, I think that feeling then of, you knew that you're all right, but you felt absolutely, and I think that's the beauty of some awareness. It doesn't stop experience, it doesn't stop feeling, but it does something for us. And yeah, it doesn't stop the waves that sometimes come, or the tsunamis.
Yeah, it really didn't stop it. Yeah, it was fully in the tsunami. But yeah, I forgot about that I came on. I just didn't even want to talk. I didn't want to be on video. I was like, don't even say I'm here.
You know, I said,
Yeah.
today, don't make a joke.
Yeah.
Sam really wants to be left alone. Just don't
Yeah.
start goading her or trying to get her off.
Yeah. I think that was literally a few days out of hospital. Yeah, and it's you don't realise how far you've come. So that's really interesting, and the miracle of the physical body. Like my body is healing; it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it's like even that's kind of you become in awe of the form, you know, and the intelligence of the form that what it's actually doing. I can walk again, you know. It's yeah, the whole thing's. I can honestly say, as I said, it's hazy, but I feel there was like me pre-accident and me post-accident, and they're like so different. But I don't know what that difference is yet. Yeah, but thank you both for being there for me. I love you both very much.
Love
Oh,
you,
love
Sam.
you.
Thank you, love. You know, I think the other thing when it comes to it, I know it's thought. I suppose it's a bit like saying, I know it's quantum mechanics. You know, or me looking at a mathematical equation and going, oh, I know it's algebra. You know, I don't know what thought is. I say this so often, I do not know what thought is. I know it's just a thought. I feel like we need to let go of that statement. On one hand, it's useful, but it can kind of lead to a kind of an idea that we think we know something. And it's not what we don't know that causes our suffering. It's what we think we know that causes our suffering. Even something as mundane as I know it's a thought, that illusion of knowledge there, that illusion of knowing something creates suffering. You know, when I look at thought, and when you listen to any physicist or anybody like that, to Sid, they talk about energy. Thought is energy. Well, all right, Dave, it's energy. All right, I get that then. No, what's energy? What is energy? What is this formlessness that takes form? What is this formlessness that creates? And bearing in mind, energy is just a word that we use to describe a phenomena that is present in this universe, within ourselves, all around us, is us. You know, when I started to look at thought as being frequencies, as infinite frequencies, it's like light. Within light, there are infinite frequencies. There's light we haven't discovered yet. There is light we haven't discovered yet. In fact, there's more light we haven't discovered than light we've actually discovered. There's more possibilities we haven't discovered than what we've discovered. When I started to look at thought as being frequencies, each thought has its own frequency, and what we feel is the frequency of that thought. That's what we feel. We feel the frequency of the energy that is within us. Now, people go, oh, it's all about energy, Dave. It's all about energy work. It's all about shadow work. It's all, like, we create all these kind of divided words for thought. Or perhaps thought is one of the divided words for energy. I don't know. But we tend to think of them as being different things. They're not. It's all the same thing. And if we can start to consider that each thought we have is a frequency of creation that's taken place within the consciousness of this soul, via the consciousness of this soul. Every single potential is a frequency within the infinite frequencies. And we like some frequencies and we don't like some frequencies. Some frequencies are harmonious with our living and it feels beautiful, and some are unharmonious with our feeling. I don't know. I don't like being stood next to a Wi-Fi router or a 5G mast for too long. I start to get a bit buzzy and a bit horrible. You know, I feel the frequencies of those and they don't feel very nice. And likewise, it's the same principle within ourselves. It's like we feel the frequencies of these frequencies that come within us, and they feel horrible and they're jarring against our background feeling of love. They're so in contrast to our background feeling of love that we really notice it, and we start to think it's really important. We start to think there's something really important we need to do. That's when we start to take life really, really seriously. People start to take life seriously when they start suffering. But in my experience, that's when we are furthest away from our truth. And that is the time when, rather than taking life really, really seriously at that point, we should be taking our foot off the throttle. You know, if we stop taking all these feelings so seriously, you'd realize every single feeling is a potential within the infinite. It's all the same thing. Like every single wave is an expression of the ocean. Sorry, Dan. But it is. But it is. It's all the same thing. That creates the anxiety, creates the worry, is the same thing that creates the happiness, creates the joy. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I know when I woke up and I realized I created depression. It wasn't that I beat myself up for it. I was so relieved. Fuck, I've done this to myself. I did this to me. Thank God for that. I have some say over that. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to speak to myself the way I speak to myself anymore. It hurts. I don't want to think badly of those people anymore. It hurts me. I don't want to hold those grudges. I don't want to hold those resentments anymore. They hurt me. They hurt me. It's me who suffers. I suffer all that stuff. It's one of the greatest reliefs. Discovering the happiness, joy, and love comes from the same place. It comes from the same place. It's the same thing, just used in a different way. Oh, we can use a fire to keep warm, or we can burn ourselves, as a young girl once that we worked with once said. It's the same thing, just used in a different way. When you start to see that, you realize there's nowhere else to look. There's nothing else to blame. You're free. But you always were. And you always are. You're always free. Welcome, Cal.
I don't know if this is relevant now, actually, or if I put it into words. It was when Sam was speaking, something was coming to me. That so often what happens to us in the moment, we deal with it. We get what we need in the moment to deal with life. but we don't ever really pay attention to that, because we pay attention to all the worries that we have about things that might happen or things that have happened and what ifs. But if I look back at my life and time I've spent with other people and people I've worked with, in the actual moment of something happening in the world, we deal with it. Like, there's a young girl in South Africa that said that their family was robbed by armed robbers, and they were held at gunpoint. And she said, I just went completely calm and clear, and I knew what to do, and I did what they told me to
one of
do.
the
And
biggest worries, wasn't
she'd
it?
been scared of this for years, and then it happened. And in the moment of it happening, she said, I was completely calm and I knew what to do. And that was a year before we met her. And her and her sisters then had got so scared that they'd all been sleeping in the same room together for the year, because they were just so terrified it might happen again. But when we did our talk, she realised something, that when the thing that she'd feared happened, she actually had more peace and more about her than she does in everyday life. And the amount of times I've heard that story. But then what we seem to do is, after it, when we are actually physically safe, we start going, oh my God. And we drive ourselves mad with our own thinking about the what ifs or the should have beens, or could have done it differently, or what if it happens again. So much of our life we're spent in this imagination of our fears, of our worries. But in the actual moment of something taking place, it feels like built into us, built into life, is this knowing how to come forward and to deal with it. Like, all unnecessary thought falls away and we show up. There's a lovely podcast with Mara Gleeson speaking about when she lost her sister-in-law and niece and nephew in a car crash. And she said for months after that, it was like all unnecessary thought got removed from her mind, and it was feed my baby, give my brother a hug, eat some food. It was like moment to moment, do this, no, now do this. She wasn't living in any past experience or future experience. If she was in grief, she was just in the feeling of grief. And she said it was so raw and so, I'll try and find it and put it on the group. But if you ask someone, how would the few months be after you lost your best friend, who's also your sister-in-law, and your niece and your nephew? I mean, we'd all just come up with all kinds of just terrible, terrible experiences. But she said it was one of the most peaceful experiences of her life. She had another experience that she speaks of in her book, of being held at gunpoint in, I think, Mexico. All unnecessary thought falling away, and just being present and knowing what to do. And I think we all have examples in our own life where we've come up against something and we just deal with it, and we look back, oh my God, I don't even know how I dealt with that. I don't even know how I got through that. Something deeper within us seems to get us through their times. But what we tend to do as human beings, and I've got no idea why, is drive ourselves mental with some of it can be like massive fears, but often it's tiny little things that we worry ourselves about, and anxieties and things that we think about from the past that create horrible feeling, or grudges that we hold. And it's not a judgment here, but it's like, wow, isn't that interesting? That actually we'll have experience, and we can see from other people's experience that there's something within us that knows how to live and knows how to move through anything. But we can sit there totally safe, on our sofa or in bed or chilling out, driving ourselves mental about something that hasn't actually happened and may never happen.
I just wanted to go back to those girls in South Africa because something happened that night. Do you not remember?
Oh yeah, yeah. So that we'd done a talk for about 3 hours. It was supposed to be 2 hours, but as a group of 18 to 21-year-old girls, I think we had about 20 of them, and they were like, there were so many amazing things about that night. But we ended up taking the conversation out onto the street outside this lady's house because she needed to get the kids to bed. And
This was in Johannesburg, on the street at 11 o'clock at night. Apparently, you're not supposed to do that. But
No.
one of the girls had said to you, how do you calm yourself down? How do you calm down?
Yeah, so then a car pulled up on the other side of the road and they're like creeping down the road, and then we'd already seen some guys walk past, and then these girls went hysterical.
Well, they pulled up outside us, didn't they?
Well, it was on the other side of the road, and the guys had already walked down the road, and they started screaming. So then he pulled up alongside us, and they're like hyperventilating. And then he went, "All right, mate." And he goes, "I am an Uber driver. I'm looking. Have you seen 3 lads or something?" You're like, "Oh yeah, they're down there." And he sort of had a conversation with him, and he went. And then this girl was like crying, and then we ended up having a bit more of a conversation. And then after about 5 minutes, I said to her, "Right, what did you do?" She went, "What?" I said, 5 minutes ago, you were hysterical, you were hyperventilating. What did you do? And she was like, I didn't, nothing. I didn't do anything. I said, okay, so within 5 minutes, you've gone from being hysterical and hyperventilating to just having a conversation and being normal. It's just, we do settle down. We can't do it. We can't do settling down. When we allow our mind to move, we have thought, it comes in, it's how everything it passes through, and something else replaces it. But we seem to hold things in place by this idea that we need to not be feeling the experience that we're having.
Do you mind if I just go and get a jacket? I'm actually shivering.
I know, I'm really got.
We
Wait to
won't-
put one of your dad's jackets over you.
I will.
Yeah, sorry I was gone so long. I just had this, I sat here, I just kept getting this feeling of Lucia, and then I went and checked, and then actually the monitor wasn't working, and so I was just trying to get the monitor to work, and then as I listened, I could hear she'd woken up, so it took me a while to get her to go back to sleep again. But that's something else that's happened to me since coming across the principles, is I sometimes just get this feeling of someone, and I know I need to do something or contact them, or so I don't know what it is, but I've tended to listen to it a lot more now, especially when it's come to Lucia. Dave's, I'm all right actually. It's a lot warmer up here than it's downstairs.
Is it?
It's like 14 degrees in the bedroom. It's actually really cold. Your dad seems to have this like sixth sense. If he's needed, he shows up. Like when your mum needed him, and when I crashed the car.
There's the car keys.
Were you looking for them?
No, look,
No.
we'd have never found them.
Yeah, and I think that's like, there is something within us so wise, intelligent,
Magical.
it's just beyond us, and we get so caught up with like, I got bored of my own story, and I got bored of my own bullshit, and I think that's part of the reason why this understanding has changed my life so much, because I saw that it was bullshit, and then the bullshit still sort of sometimes came up. I'm so bored of it. We get bored of it. There's so much more to experience than the same old. We're not who we think we are. And like Sam said, she doesn't know quite what it is yet, but she's not the person that she was before she broke her hip. Life has shown up. She has listened and learned, and something's happened, and she's transforming into more of who she is. I think she said it's like something's fallen off.
I was telling Sam about your mum.
Which bit?
About your mum when she broke her ankle.
Yeah.
Because Jen's mum was somebody who could not stand still, was always up and doing. You went for a walk with her, it was horrific.
Dave, can you just not stop and talk to people? Can we not stop and look at things? And can we not take pictures all the time? And
Can you not look at things? Yeah, that was it. And like, so going for a walk with her was like going on a forced march. And that's not how I like to go for walks. I like to go for walks and look at things.
but now I've got Lucy, you do know a little bit what it's like to go on a walk with you.
Killer. But Jen's mum broke her ankle and she couldn't move. She couldn't move for weeks.
Months in the end, isn't it?
Months on it. And like, to begin with, she found it very, very difficult, didn't she? Because her mind was still moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour and she couldn't. But then it was really interesting to watch her over the weeks and watch her mind get quieter. And your mum is not the same woman before her accident.
No.
And it was through that horrible event that she became a far more still lady, a far more quiet-minded lady. And yeah, sometimes these things just come along, and like with Sam, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. But you're not the same person on the other side. You're just not. And I feel like we have two choices. We can go down the road of resentment and bitterness and twistedness and hatred, or we can go down the road of, okay, what next? Life hasn't shown up like I thought it was going to. What next? What am I going to do? You know, and we can choose either wisdom, or we can choose its opposite. That's it. Just resentment and hatred and everything that isn't in alignment with love. You know, and people think we don't have a choice. Everybody has a choice. The ego does not have a choice. The ego doesn't have choice. The ego is an illusion. And the reason why I'm saying that is because many people are trying to make decisions from the ego. No, but what we call the heart knows. What is the heart? The soul knows. The heart of our being, the center of our being knows. And the more we kind of wake up, the more we exercise our free will. The more we use our mind wisely. The more we create with purpose and intention. Just have a-
Oh, I was just seeing if Zuma got back to us about that for me.
Yes.
I was like, I wonder if Dave's going to be really annoyed about that afterwards. 'cause he'll be
No, I'm
annoyed.
really just not bothered anymore, to be honest. I'm just not bothered anymore.
It's just weird, isn't it? What is it?
I don't get it.
I don't understand how it happens
I
or how it works.
don't understand why anybody would want to spend their earthbound existence doing menial shit like that.
The funny thing is, though, when it's,
if that's the subtotal of what they've achieved in life, fair play.
but speaking to my nephew and my nieces now, you never think you're going to be old because you don't feel old. When they try and explain, like my nephew was trying to explain my Bitcoin to me the other day, so I've got like a percentage of a Bitcoin, and we're trying to leave it long enough. It's supposed to go up again before we take it out. So then I'm asking, well, how do I get it out of here, of this app that I've got? And he's like, well, what do you mean? You just do this? And then he had to show me over and over and over again. And
Was it like trying to show your dad how to use the laptop?
yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, like you never think, because you don't feel old inside and you don't feel stupid, but you just get to the point where you're. So he was trying to explain to me about, it was my nieces were trying to explain to me about the Zoom thing. It probably isn't just like a person, like there can be AI things that just put
Yeah,
videos
but
in.
some person's created the AI.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it actually.
Just sad. Bless them.
Does it make you feel popular? It's happened 3 times now.
Yeah. Popular with AI.
I don't understand why our password's not working, so that's something we need to look into.
No.
So no one used the password tonight to get in. Just click the link. Right, okay.
Yeah, we need to do something about that.
Yes.
Cool. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Jenny, it's not asking for the password. I didn't click the link. I actually was logging in. And it never asked me for the password.
Right, so we need to do something about that.
But it's definitely not using the password.
We'll fettle summit.
We can look you in the eye now, Julie, because we have actually sent you our information.
Yeah, guilt's
Oh,
gone.
does that mean I've got to hide my eyes because I haven't done anything with it?
No.
Because you've looked at it.
No, because I haven't looked at it.
All right.
No.
You won't be able to look at us when you've actually looked at it. You lying bastards. Oh, thanks, Julie, love. Does anybody else want to say anything? We need Big Mac on this call. Where's that lad at? He's always going through some mad stuff and he's like, oh, God, done it again. I think just go easy on ourselves. Just go easy on ourselves. I think it's, I always remember when I had an affair, my affair with my first wife. I asked everybody for help. I told everybody I was having an affair because I wanted somebody to say something that told me what to do. Nobody ever did it. I told so many people, like, my first wife was like, why do you keep telling people? Can you not? I was telling people because I wanted somebody to give me some wisdom. I wanted them to tell me what to do, and not one person did. But I do remember one person just looking at me going, well, you're not the first, and you certainly won't be the last, and carried on doing with what they were doing. Now, that comment meant absolutely nothing to them, but I remember it hitting me going, wow, I felt so lonely in this. I felt so isolated and lonely and wrong in my life, but other people are going through the same thing. Other people have been through the same thing. Other people are going to go through the same thing. And I remember it being such a reassuring thing, the realization that I'm not on my own because I feel like this. That other human beings feel like this too. Yeah, you go and check it out.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, you know, it's very easy for us to come to the conclusion that nobody else on earth experiences feeling as deeply as I do, but I feel so deeply, Dave. So does everybody else. We all do. And most people, no, it's gonna let us get answered. And most people don't get through this life without challenge. Very, very few. So just keeping that in mind, you know, nobody's on their own. Nobody's on their own. You know, we're not unique in that respect. I just remember that being a really helpful thing for me to realize. Simple, but helpful. All right. Has anybody got any questions, any reflections, any observations, or anything they wish to share? All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. it's going to do me bit. Thank you all for being here. This has been a buy donation event by Freedom Thinking. If anybody wishes to make a donation, I'll put a link in the description below on this video. Yeah, all donations are greatly received, so thank you in advance. Yeah, and likewise, if you're watching this on catch up and you've got any questions, drop us a comment in the bottom of this at the bottom of this video, and we will be looking to be up and running again with Freedom Thinking community group next Monday. So whatever date that is, 7 days from today. So we look forward to seeing everybody there who can make it. Thank you all so much for being here. It'd have been terrible without you. So Jen and I are both so grateful. She's got to check on Lucy because Lucy was bawling her eyes out. Apparently the monitor wasn't working. We didn't hear her. So Jen's got to check on Luce. But thank you all for being here. Loads of love. And see you next week, hopefully. Take care.
Good night, Dave.
Good night.
Bye night.
Night.
Nice.